Hey guys, I hope you're all doing fine. I just wanted to show you the Manufacturers Cup race I was doing for the World Finals of the FIA Grand Turismo Championship. Like, just giving you some informations as well as some analysis about my race strategy. And yeah, I also wanted to show you the qualifying lap I was doing during the qualifying session so that I can go with you guys through my qualifying lap. And you're about to see why I didn't get pole. But yeah, anyway, yeah, let's just go through the qualifying lap, shall we? So this is my qualifying lap. You guys have to know that everybody were only allowed to set one lap, which is like what we used to see on the good old Formula 1 days. As for the first corner, brake right before the 100 braking board. Try to hit the first curb here. Slightly cut the curb on the right hand side. Usually you need to cut it a lot in order to gain a lot of time, but if you did that, like exceeding the track limits with all of your 4 tires, then you would have got a penalty at the beginning of the race. As for here, brake right after the 100 braking board, clip the curb on the left hand side to get the extra rotation, like limiters would have said here. So yeah, as for this upcoming corner here, it was pretty crucial to hit the curb too. But it wasn't really that bad because the actual speed was still okay. Here, you had to be careful too with this curb here, because if you did the same mistake as on the second corner of the Senna S, like cutting the curb too much, then you would have got a penalty at the beginning of the race too. Here was also pretty crucial to stay as closely as you could on the curb on the right hand side, and then getting the best exit out of possible. As you guys can see, I was purple in sector 1 as well as in sector 2, but here it's like failing to hit the curb on the left hand side, getting on the curb, having a lot of oversteering here, and yeah, I lost tons of time there unfortunately, but because of that I ended at P5, which wasn't really optimal here, but as for the strategy it was pretty good. So yeah, let's go to the race then. It's been such a long time listening to this amazing intro again. But anyway, let me just go through the grid with you guys, even though you already know it after watching the Manufacturers Cup stream yesterday. So at pole position we have Nicolas Rubula with the BMW, amazing lap. At second place we have Igor with the Honda, amazing lap 2. At third place we have Leurot with the Porsche, amazing lap 2. At fourth place we have Baptiste with the Mercedes, pretty good lap 2. At fifth place it's me, hello. Then at 6th place, Adam Tapai with the Ford, pretty good lap 2. Then at 7th place, Coco Bunsam with the Mazda, pretty good lap 2. On 8th place, we have Thomas with the Lamborghini. At 9th place, we have Misono-san with the Citroen. Then we have at 10th place, Yamanaka-san with the Toyota. At 11th place, Manu with the Audi. And at 12th place we have Mr. Saludo with the Yito. Now I'm joking with the Beetle, obviously, but yeah. So, as for the tire compound choice of the individual drivers, you guys already know it after watching the stream yesterday. So the first 2 drivers are using the soft tires to basically run away from the field. Then Leurot as well as Baptiste, they were using the medium tires. And everyone apart from that, including myself, we were using the hard tires so that we could basically get rid of the hard tires, like the slowest tire compound, as soon as possible, and basically finish the race with the fastest tire compound possible with the soft tires. And when I was doing my practice races back home, at home I mean, I'm sorry, I immediately found out that the free stop strategy was the fastest way to go, and also like the safest strategy for me personally. Like I didn't know how it was the case for the MR cars, because they tend to suffer with the tire wear, let's say a little bit more compared to the FR cars. So yeah, probably the MR cars were doing a 4-stop, except for Laurel, because Porsche, even for the Porsche, it's like an MR car in this game. It's a pretty stable car, and you can maybe afford doing a 2-stop strategy even during this race, or maybe even a 3-stop strategy. And as for the fuel, for the front runners, I will probably tell something about it afterwards, but for now I also would like to show you guys something why I also decided to go for the hard tires, because there is something I found out during my practice sessions here, and I would like to show that to you guys too. So what I was trying out during the practice session was to basically try to compare the speed, the amount of speed I'm going through at the pit lane exit here with the individual tire compounds here, like comparing the hard tires to the mediums and then to the softs. And you're about to see that the faster the tire compound is, the faster I am through the section here. I mean, it's kind of like obvious, because the faster your tire compound is, then you should obviously be faster through the section too, right? But as we are talking about the AI taking the control of your car through the section here, you never know what may be the case here, right? So that's why I was just trying it out, for the science, obviously. And I also found out, or like, that made me realize that, hey, wait a minute, if I start with the harder tire compound, like, you also have to know that if you always start a race, like an official race, then at the first lap, on the first lap, I'm sorry, you will always be having cold tires in the end. And what does it mean, like cold tires? With cold tires, you will be having less grip because your tires are not at temperature, right? So, yeah, and that made me realize that, hey, wait a minute, if I start on the hard tires, which is already like the slowest tire compound out of those three, and by us having the cold tires at the on the first lap, which already makes us slow down by a lot, and then additionally finding out that, hey, wait a minute, if I choose the softer tire compound afterwards, then I will automatically be faster afterwards too, right? Like obviously, throughout the race, my car will be lighter, right? I mean, if your car will be lighter, then obviously your car should be faster through the run too, right? But on the practice, like, not really in the practice session, I mean on the experiment I was doing before, I was using the same amount of fuel on each test, but still that made me realize that, hey, wait a minute, if I choose the harder tire compound at the beginning of the race, then I don't need to use that tire compound for the pit exit here, for example. And this is also like another trick which I use during the race. Like if I already see that I'm not on full acceleration, like here, being at consistent amount of speed, I always put the fuel mixture up to 6, so that my car will not burn more fuel than it should be, you know, so that I can still save a little bit more fuel automatically, because unfortunately I can't tell to the AI that, hey, can you please shift up already so that I can save fuel. And here I was letting by Kokobun down, because I saw that, and my teammates were also telling me, because I was through I was in a Zoom session with them. I apologize. So they were telling me that Kokobun was on the softer tire compound, so I let them by, and I was also trying to use his slipstream a little bit, so that I can save a little bit of fuel here, as well as him trying to pull me along with him, because I was able to use his slipstream for a bit here, and luckily I think even on the back straight here, or not on the back straight, like on the final straight here, I was still having the slipstream here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and that also helped me a little bit here, but after the center S, I'm about to lose the slipstream here, which is not really crucial or like bad, because that means that I can still run on my own pace, but try to save fuel, as you can see here. Fuel map 6 for the first 2 corners to save some fuel, as well as some tires. And then as for the second sector here, you're also about to see that I'm always using Fuel Mixture 6, and also like here, like 6, and then for the entry still, so that I can save my rear tires a little bit more. But here, like for the entire second sector, I was using Fuel Mixture 6, or like mainly, like almost the whole sector 2, I mean. Because I was like, hey, wait a minute, I don't need to use that much acceleration anyway, because I'm about to brake soon too, right? So I was like, okay, I can still use Fuel Mixture 6 here in order to save some fuel. And then, again, yeah, obviously like short shifting around. And then here, sometimes I was unsure about whether I should just short shift, but stay on Fuel Mixture 1, or just go with like Fuel Mixture 6, but staying on the 4th gear. Like I didn't know which one of those two methods I was able to save a little bit more fuel here. But yeah, luckily I didn't need to refuel during this race with the way how I was short shifting during the race. But again, I also would like to tell you something about the tire choice, about the information I gathered after doing the experiment on the other day. So yeah, like that was like the main reason why I wanted to go for the hard tires, because yeah, it's like I just didn't want to lose time during the pits unnecessarily, you know. So that was the main reason why I went for the hard tires, because if that means, like, you never know if you may end up doing the traffic, you know. Like, for example, you did a pit stop, you will rejoin the track, but unluckily, you will join inside of the traffic. And obviously, if you join inside of the traffic, well, let's say you have let's say a brand new set of tires, but the other ones have like some worn tires. Yeah, they will obviously slow you down because they are not as fast as you are with their current tire set. And the only overtaking opportunity, like the realistic overtaking opportunity at Interlagos, is basically the first corner. Or if you have so much grip, then the other ones are like at the end of, sector 1, and maybe the overtake I was doing at Kokobunsan later on during the race, which you are also about to see from my onboard, but also like which you also saw it from the stream yesterday. So yeah, that was like the main reason why I wanted to go for the hard tires, because yeah, it's just I didn't want to lose unnecessary time, because I knew that, for example, before us even having the qualifying session back then, I was asking my teammates all the time, like, hey guys, I mean, I found out a pretty good strategy, but I wanted to hear your opinions first, because I didn't want to choose everything by myself only, because it's a team sport, it's a team event, and you should also work with your teammates, right? Because we were also in a position where we could potentially win the whole thing, which was pretty like still surreal for all of us, because we were like thinking about, okay, let's just try to get Subaru on the podium, because that would be an amazing achievement for all of us already. But after realizing that, hey, wait a minute, we are already in a championship position here, you know, like at P2, I think it was like 2 points behind of Mercedes. I was still like, oh, hey, we have a good chance, actually. We have a good chance at winning this whole event overall, right? So that's why I was like so nervous and having a lot of pressure, actually. Like, guys, I need to calm down. But yeah, like during the qualifying session, I was still like, before even having my own qualifying lap, like, hey guys, what should I be doing? Should I go for the hard tires, even if I manage to secure pole position or not? And my teammates, they were like, it could be hard, you know, because like, as an example, okay, what if I start a pole or something like that, and the guys behind me, they are like on a different strategy than I am, like not by using the hard tires for the first lap. So what happens if basically if I use the hard tires, pit in after lap 1, but let's say some guys at the back, he may be using the medium tires or so, and if I basically close the gap to him again after my pit stop, or like after doing my pit stop, I mean, like what happens afterwards, you know, like may I lose a lot of time by being stuck inside of the traffic or not, because I just didn't want to lose so much time unnecessarily. So that was like my main priority during this race. I mean, obviously I wanted to know what Nicolas, Igor, Leurot, Baptiste were doing during the race, but obviously I still wanted to focus on my own race, so that I may not be looking and be focused about their strategy all the time, right? Because we saw what happened at 2010 on the final race where, I think Alonso was focusing himself a lot about Weber's strategy, but in the end he got screwed over and another driver got the title, which was Vettel. So that's also like what I didn't want to do, like not focusing myself about the strategy of the other guys too much, because I just wanted to go for my own strategy. I knew that I had the pace. I knew that if I just do my own thing, we can get a pretty good result in the end. And yeah, so that was like my main priority here. But still, that was basically it, I think. And yeah, also let me tell you about my strategy in general. Like, I mean, you also saw it yesterday during the stream, but as you guys can also see here, Nicolas pitted in pretty early in my opinion with the soft tires, but I guess he was pushing a little bit too hard, as you can also see it by looking at his fuel percentage there, because I have, 77% at the moment, or maybe 76, I'm not quite sure. But like as I said, like I didn't want to lose too much time during the pits, and my main priority here was also like not to refuel by any chance, because here, like on those special events, also like on the Volta events, if you want to refuel, then I think you can refuel 3 liters per second, but that takes ages to be done with. Like if you have, let's say, a fuel saving race where in the end you may, or let's say you have to refuel, in the end then you want to try to save as much fuel as possible so that you don't need to refuel afterwards. But I guess it depends on the situation again, like for example on high-speed tracks, because if you save too much fuel there, then you will end up losing tons of time on the straight line, and as well as on the lap times in general. Like Interlagos is a pretty good track where you can save fuel, or try to save so much fuel so that you don't need to refuel in the end. Because Sector 2 is basically like the fuel saving territory. Like on Sector 1 and Sector 3, it's like, okay, fuel map 1, so that you can basically have a little bit more power here. Obviously short shifting too. You can also see here Baptiste and Igor pitting in at the end of lap 8. And so Baptiste, I was like, okay, that's like around that area where you can go into the pits. And then he chose the hard tires, and you will also see that we managed to do the undercut on him, which is like what I was also saying before, you know, like I didn't want to lose so much time during the pits unnecessarily, because I did the experiment before. I found that out, which was pretty surprising to me, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, I think I can gain like about, maybe 1 second there. Well, I'm not quite sure. Like I didn't really compare the like the advantage I got by choosing the faster tire compound during the pit stop. During the pit stop, I mean. So yeah, it was like, I don't know, just following my own strategy. But when I saw that I was like around 2.5 seconds ahead of Baptiste, I was like, ooh, okay, that's pretty good, because I was scared about overtaking the Mercedes during the race, because Subaru, like Jimmy, if you're watching the race, Subaru is not the greatest car or the fastest car on the straight line, or like pretty fast car on the straight line. uh, Probably the car was only looking that fast on the straight line, like when I was doing the top 16 Superstars races during the official season, and here, about to pit for my second pit stop, choosing the soft tires. But yeah, like going back to the one which what I wanted to say before. Um, I think the Subaru was looking only that fast because it's a pretty good fuel saving car. Like it became a pretty good fuel saving car. I mean, like last year or like all the previous years, Subaru struggled a lot with fuel saving, and by changing, by let's say Polyphony changing the fuel percentage of each car again, like the fuel consumption of each car, Subaru became a pretty good car in terms of saving fuel. And yeah, I think that was the reason why the Subaru was looking let's say, on some occasions fast, because some cars needed to save more fuel. So basically basically short shifting a lot earlier, therefore not having as much power as I have when we are running on the same strategy, you know. So I guess that was the reason why the Subaru was looking fast in a straight line. But in fact, it's not the case. I mean, I'm not really that mad about that. Well, it's not really mad. But here you can see trying to stay on the right hand side, like on the driving line, because I knew that Thomas was going to overtake Manu here. So I just wanted to get the, what is it? How do you call that? Like as much speed as possible out of the corner, so that I can overtake Thomas at the end of the straight line. And I think Thomas also realized that, okay, I have brand new tires, and he can also just stay behind of me and basically save a little bit of more fuel too, right? But yeah, like back to what I was saying before, like I think that's the yeah, that was I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry, my English is not there at the moment. But what is it? Brain lag. Yeah. I mean, I'm not really, what is it? Sad about the current behavior of Subaru. With the behavior, I mean like Subaru being good on slow speed corners as well as on being on the traction, but so slow on the straight line. Because our car is like one of the slowest cars in general. If you don't need to save fuel, I mean. But by watching some of the Super GT races this year, and also like in the past, I mean, I saw that the Subaru BRZ GT300 is basically the same as the Subaru WRX we have in Gran Turismo Sport, which is like a pretty good car through the corners, or like for the corners, but it's so slow on the straight line. Like you can't even overtake any other car, except you can basically outbrake him and have a much better exit than the car behind of you. So I guess because of that, it's like, okay, I guess I have to accept it, because it's probably Subaru's way of achieving their things, right? So therefore I have to try to think and approach these races differently. Like, okay, I can't attack always, like I have to stay behind somebody, I have to think smart, being patient, and just trying and waiting for my opportunity to bounce back, so that I can maybe try to get a pretty good result for Subaru here, and also like in general. So yeah, also for here, I'm about to close up the gap to Mizuno-san and to Kokobun-san, who's running on medium tires. Like all the other drivers, they were running the soft tires before, but I think Mizuno-san as well as Thomas, they were pitting in at the end of lap 7 or something like that. I'm not quite sure. So yeah, like because of that, they were doing the undercut on us. But here, I'm about to do the famous dive bomb move, which was actually not even planned. Like actually, when I was in this position, I planned to stay behind of Misono-san, but hey, I was using my flash to him, but with the flashlights, I wanted to show him that I wanted to stay behind of him, but I guess of him braking that early, maybe he thought like, okay, I should let him by, so that I can also like save a little bit of more fuel and also like not losing a lot of time too, right? But yeah, like that surprised people a lot, so that's why I had to go to the left hand side and overtake him there, which was like a dive bomb move. But yeah, in fact, it wasn't even planned, because you can even see on my throttle pedal that I lifted up before, like I wanted to stay behind of him. But yeah, it turns out it was a good move and like a good situation for us, because with that we were able to overtake him and be right behind of Kokomon-san, who was also trying to overtake him desperately because he was on mediums. So I was trying to put my nose here and here, yeah, overtaking him around the outside. I think there was also like a slight contact, but it was still fine. And then at this moment it was like, okay, I have free air, or like clean air. I can basically use my focus, or like not really my focus, but like concentrating and focusing on my own strategy once again. Traffic. It's not great to be stuck inside of the traffic all the time, but hey, it is the way how it is. And even with the fuel, I was even surprised about myself with the fuel here, because during the practice races I was doing before, I had more fuel before. But here, as you can see here, I was actually a little bit short on fuel, like just short on fuel. So I had to be careful there too, right? So yeah, but let me think if there's anything I could still talk about to, or like giving my analysis to actually. I mean, personally, I also would like to say, like, I also would like to thank to my teammates, Daniel Solis, as well as to Miyasono-san, for being my teammates this year, because without them, it wouldn't have been possible to even be in this situation here after all, like, fighting for the championship, because I think once we got the information about the World Finals for the Manufacturers Cup, I mean, like at which tracks, the tire well multiplier as well as the fuel consumption multiplier, like the whole combination of those individual races, right? Like after seeing that, we already thought like, okay, we don't have a chance to win this overall, because race 1, which was like at Sardinia A, was like such a bad track for us, such a bad track because it has so many straight line speeds, and as I said it before, like Subaru is in terms of raw pace, because he didn't need to save fuel on race 1 as well as on race 2. It's like Subaru being one of the slowest cars on the straight line, and it didn't really help us by having a track with so many straight lines. I mean, for Red Bull Ring it was a little bit different, you know, even though it looks like it has so many straight lines too, but it has so many corners and let's say, yeah, like corners where the Subaru is good at it, and those are the corners where we can basically gain all the time we lost on the straight line. I mean, for me personally, it's a little bit frustrating that, for example, you have to make up all the time you have lost on the straight line, because by just driving on the straight line, you're just pressing the throttle pedal, right? So basically you can gain a lot of time there automatically, because it's just pressing the throttle and driving on the straight line, and you're already like maybe 2/10 ahead of the other guy. But yeah, like if you want to make up all the time you have lost on the straight line, like through the corners, then you have to try to be so perfect. Because let's say if you have another driver who's such a good driver, but driving a power car, for example, and him being so good at it, nailing every single corner, but if you do one single mistake on the corners, we don't really make up all the time there, but hey, it's all good. But for race 1, I also would like to say that I think we were actually lucky overall, like being in this position after all, because firstly it all started off with Karatsa. I think he was having some technical issues. I'm not quite sure, but he was having some issues back then. And usually the plan for Toyota was him to do the race 1, like the Sardinia A race, and Simon doing the Rippering, if I remembered correctly. But because of him having some issues at home, they had to swap drivers. And here you can see here Nicholas pitting in for his second pit stop, I believe, as well as for Igor. And here also, like, I was always comparing my fuel compared to them, and I was like, okay, I'm basically good in fuel. And I guess they were also on a very aggressive strategy where they wanted to refuel again. So yeah, like for us it was looking pretty good, because I was about to pit in, wait, if I count this lap 2, then I will pit within 3 laps, so like at the end of lap 19, so I can do the final stint on the soft tires with 11 laps to go. So yeah, like if you do the soft tires with 11 laps, then you have to be so careful with it, because you don't want to try to destroy these tires too, right? As you want to try to make it through till the end. So I had to try, like throughout the entire race here, I was trying to save my tires too, like not trying to brake aggressively, being smooth on the turning, being smooth on the brakes, being smooth on the throttle, using my field map to even try to save a little bit, let's say, my rear tires, as well as some fuel too, right? So yeah, but let me go back to to the individual races from my teammates before. So for race 1, again, like Toyota was already unlucky, but that kind of like played into our success here, I think. Also, like for some of the other competitors from the other teams for race 1, which was like Mercedes, Ford, Lamborghini, and Honda. So yeah, for race 1, we were already lucky that Toyota was already like, yeah, not having the, let's say, their selected driver usually for race 1. So because of like me saying that Karatsa had a technical issue. If I'm wrong, and if Karatsa or Simon are watching this, then please let me know about it. But that's what I know so far. So yeah, and I think that's also the reason why Toyota didn't qualify well, because like you have to imagine, like if you concentrate yourself on one race only, but just before the race your teammate has an issue and you have to change and swap the, let's say, swap the race combinations here, like all of a sudden, like all of the informations you have gathered before, all of your pace you have been practicing for is basically gone, because you have to try and adjust your driving to another track within some couple of minutes even, or maybe some couple of hours, I think. So yeah, I think I will still talk about race 2 later, but what Karatsa was doing at Red Bull Ring was outstanding for me, because usually what I heard was, or like what the organizers were also telling us, is that he should have I'm sorry guys, like he was supposed to do race 1 instead of race 2. But him doing the pole position at race 2 and almost getting the win there is really outstanding for me, because as I said, like he wasn't supposed to do the race, and him still being in the position was pretty outstanding. Like he was doing a pretty good job on that race. But yeah, like going back to race 1, it's like yeah, like our main goal was basically just try to stay out of any troubles, because with Sardinia A you have so many gravels where you may end up with, right? And it's also like you just don't want to be involved in so many troubles and like in so many issues here, like in so many battles. Because if you lose the toe, like our main strategy also was to stay within the toe, so that we can try to save our tires a little bit, as well as trying to stick to the group being ahead of us. And yeah, it's like after qualifying at P9, we were still like, okay, like for Subaru at this track, it was a pretty good qualifying position for us. Like if you compare our pace compared to the other guys, because our main competitors at this track, they were Volkswagen, Audi, BMW, and Mazda, I think. I think Audi was still like slightly faster than our car, or maybe even faster than our car. But still, like those were like our main competitors at this track, because like before us joining the track, there was like a special time trial event for us where we could basically try to practice our pace for. And I was doing a lap, or not really a lap, but I was trying to really go for it. And my pace, it was like 6 tenths slower than the fastest car. And then there I was like, yo, what am I supposed to do that? 6 tenths. But anyway, like that's only like time trial, and obviously if you do one shot qualify as well as having a race with slipstream and strategy being involved, like everything may change in the end, right? So but still, like our main goal for race 1 was basically trying to collect some points so that we can still have a chance for race 2 and race 3. So yeah, like for race 1, I also have to say that in my opinion, we were actually lucky that Porsche spun out because they were ahead of us. Then Citroen being involved in a accident too, or incident, because Citroen also spun out, I think. And then let me think. Yeah, like I think it was like at the end of lap 14 where we overtook the Toyota, and the Toyota wanted to stay close to us, but when you start sector 3 there's like the long left-hander coming there up, right? And the Toyota was running off the track with all of its 4 tires, and because of the Toyota running off the track, it was having like dirt on its tires, and that was helping us a lot to basically survive, to stay ahead of the Toyota for the last remaining lap. So that's how we finished at P6. In my opinion, still, even though in my opinion we were a lot lucky there, I mean, my teammate Solis, he was doing an outstanding job because he was staying out of any troubles. He was following his strategy. He was so concentrated, doing his job great. Like you have to think about, like, Subaru is not the greatest car here, and the same can be said about BMW. And I also have to say that Koke was also doing a pretty good job for BMW too. I think we could have been right up there with BMW if I think Daniel didn't do his mistake at sector 2, where he clipped the wall on the right hand side at the exit of the blind left-hander. But it was still fine, because P6 was still a pretty good result for us. Like, unfortunately not really that good, because after Mercedes winning the race, Honda finishing at P3, we were already thinking like, okay, I think the race win is completely over. So maybe let's just try to aim for a pretty good result still, like even for a podium still, because we didn't think about the race win in general. Because for us, Mercedes were like the favorites to win, because they could collect so many points for all of the 3 races. Like obviously our car was like one of the best ones here for the race, I mean. And yeah, like we also have to say that for the last race, there were double amount of points being given too, which makes it a little bit more, how Gran Turismo would like to say it, big drama like. So yeah, like we had to rely on the last race in order to achieve an amazing result here. But yeah, like even without the double amount of points and how the race was looking like here, we still would have won the competition. Because Mercedes didn't finish quite well, unfortunately. But yeah, that was basically race 1. Again, congratulations to Mercedes-Benz there back then. Because Bonelli, he was also doing a pretty good job holding up the Ford and the Lamborghini for 2 laps with the medium tires, by the way. And then he was also doing an undercut on everybody, and because of that he won the race. In my opinion, if I was Valerio back then, I mean, I saw that the Mercedes was still like in the slipstream range of the Honda, and if the Honda had pitted on the same lap as the Mercedes, then I think he would have jumped ahead of the Ford and basically being at P2, because he could just use the slipstream of the Mercedes to save his tires, in my opinion. But I don't know how the Honda was like during the race, so I can't tell. I can't tell everything about it exactly, like with every single accurate information, obviously. So I guess you have to ask Valeria about it, like Williams B Racer, like why he didn't pit at the same lap as Bonelli did. But yeah, that's like race 1. For race 2, we raced at Red Bull Ring, and our driver there was Miyazono-san. Oof. Qualifying at P3, I think he did a mistake on the last sector, which cost us the pole position. But hey, it was still okay, because before the race, Miyazono-san was telling us that he wanted to, like, if he finished within the top 3 at the end of the qualifying session, he wanted to use the soft tires. But I was like, hey, let's just do the qualifying session first and then decide it afterwards, okay? So he did the qualifying session, finished at P3, amazing job by him. And then yeah, and then after the qualifying session he was still asking us like, should I go with the soft tires? And I was like, with Daniel here, I don't know, to be honest, because like if you go with the medium tires, obviously you will pit earlier, but then if you choose the soft tires afterwards, then you can do an undercut on the guys being ahead of you, right? So we chose the medium tires after all, and then after seeing the Toyota and Citroen were going for the softs, we were like, okay, that's pretty good for us, pretty good. And then it was even more looking better for us that Lamborghini decided to battle with BMW after lap 1, I believe, and because of that we were able to pull away. And had a gap about, 2 seconds or something like that, 2.5 seconds. And that was basically helping us to stay ahead of everybody there. I will talk about race 1 in a minute here, but as you can see here, for my race again, Ego was pitting in, Laura was pitting in. And with their amount of fuel, I realized, oh, okay, they have to refuel again. Because I didn't know with the gap I was having to the leaders if I could jump ahead of them. But then with them refueling here, I was able to. And then I was also getting a lot of time to Nicholas ahead of me too. Here I was like, oh, okay, Igor just put ahead of me. He had mediums, I had, let's say, worn softs, but I still wanted to go for it. But I was actually surprised that Igor didn't really close the door on the left hand side. But then here, it's like the amazing footage which you also saw on the stream. I really enjoyed the battle actually, and but yeah, like my goal was to basically stay ahead of him. But through this section here, through sector 2, I realized, oh, okay, he's actually faster with the NSX, like with brand new mediums obviously, and I had worn soft tires. Like you also have to think that the Honda is like the faster qualifying car around this track. Like if you only want to push, just go with the Honda. So yeah, also like here I was thinking about, okay, I don't want to lose too much time against the Honda because I wanted to stay ahead of the BMW who which just pitted in, and I also realized that this car needs to refuel again. Not again, but needs to refuel too. So I was showing my indicator here to show Igor that, hey, I will stay on the right hand side, overtake me please, so that we don't lose a lot of time. because my main goal was just to stay or like jump the BMW, you know, because the BMW was our main competitor here. Because if the BMW had rejoined the track ahead of us, they would have won the competition here. So as you can see here, we just managed to jump ahead of the BMW, which was pretty crucial for us. Like, I can tell you, like, this was the moment where everybody from us was like, yes, we managed to overtake the BMW. Now it's like, let's go. And then here I was like, okay, even though I already have too much fuel, I still wanted to save some. So yeah, I was just staying behind with Igor, saving some fuel, saving my tires too. For example, on the next lap, you will also see that that I'll be lifting coasting maybe, like for the first corner, so that I can also save my front tires even, because I just wanted to make it through the end and didn't want to lose so much time so that Nicolas would be in a position to overtake me in the end, because I destroyed my tires, right? So obviously, like, by me having too much fuel, I tried to burn some of it on the straight line again. But then here I was showing my flash to him that, hey, please don't defend. I will not overtake you here. I just want to stay behind of you. And here, look, I'm not braking 100%, like 80% or so. I just wanted to save my tires and make it to the end. And yeah, that's all, like, with the battle I had with Igor. Like, obviously he was helping me a little bit here, because even though I already had too much fuel, it still, like, helped me a lot by saving my tires even more. But I think even if he wasn't ahead of me, I think I still would have stayed ahead of Nicolas, because you can see that the gap between myself and Nicolas was increasing a lot through the next couple of laps. So yeah, but back to race 2. Like, Miyazono was doing a pretty good job, and then he also wanted to pit at the end of, what is it, maybe lap 6, I think. But I was like, also with Daniel obviously, like, don't pit in yet, because we don't know if you will rejoin the track instead of the traffic. So that's why we kept him out for one more lap, and then he pitted in for a new set of soft tires. And I mean, you all saw the rest of the race. Like, amazing overtake on the last corner. Like, you should have seen it. Like, after he did that, like, he was asking us if he wanted to, like, if he should have stayed at P2. If he should stay at P2, like, to try not to risk his current position there. But I was like, nah, go for it, mate. We need to win. We need to win. So, yeah. And then after him overtaking Karatz on the last corner, he was like, yo, katta, like, which basically means in English versus the Japanese, but like, yeah, I won, you know, I won. And then we were like, hey, are you serious? Oh, it was such a brilliant moment. Like, again, Miyazono-san also did a pretty good job, outstanding job too. And then this is all, like, about my own race here, I think. Yeah, I was telling you about the strategy, like, my approach for this race here. Yeah, like, you also have to think that for this semester, I had to study even more compared to the last semester, because we had to do an experiment where for each week we have to write a report for it, which is like around 20 up to 30 pages. And the thing here is, if we do some mistakes on our report, then we always need to correct it afterwards. And then additionally, at each week, you know, like, no, at each week, in each week, we had to do a new experiment too. And therefore, writing a new report for that experiment we did on the last week, I mean, or no, not in last week, let's say on the current week, I mean. So potentially you needed to correct one report as well as writing another report on the same weekend. And then there was also me having, let's say, other subjects too, which I needed to focus myself onto too. So yeah, that's why I had to change my daily schedule for it, which was like, what is it? I mean, I had to wake up, obviously. But for the World Finals here, there was like a special lobby for all of us where we could join some race slots and basically practice the races by ourselves. And I realized that, hey, wait a minute, at 8 a.m. I can basically join a practice session for Interlagos, for this race here, to basically try out the strategy. That's what I did, because the first online class I was always having for the semester was at 9:45 a.m. and I could have just made it after practicing a race for it. So my daily schedule has been looking like this: waking up, practice session immediately. Once I was done for it, then obviously having breakfast, and then attending the online classes, which sometimes lasted even to 5:15 p.m. And yeah, and then studying for the rest of the day, because I also need to prepare myself for the other day, like for the next day, I mean. And also like always trying to repeat everything what I did before in order not to lose the memory of it. So yeah, it was like a busy time for me, but I can gladly say that it's basically over for this year. But if I'm truly honest, I really missed, let's say, playing Gran Turismo again, in terms of this level here, because it made me realize that, hey, I think I need to come back again. Like even if I'm sometimes busy with my studies, because I mean, just doing some races for fun could be good too, right? So yeah, but I'm thinking about it. But as for this one here, I wanted to show you my onboard footage here, like to see how I was basically saving fuel, how I was doing the race in general, giving my thoughts to it, and hopefully I was also able to give you some analysis to it too, like explaining why I chose for the strategy I did on this race here. And yeah, first of all, I would also like to say thank you all for supporting me this year, and also like since the beginning of my sim racing career here. And without you, it wouldn't have been possible to achieve, let's say, a result like this. Like for me, it's pretty surreal to win the Manufacturers Cup with my favorite brand, Subaru, because the BUB isn't the greatest. Well, for Group 3, it's actually quite good, but I mean, we still need to do, not we, I mean like, Group 4 still needs some work. So yeah, but I want to say like, thank you everybody for watching this race, watching this video, and I hope you always stay safe. And if I want to do another video, Happy New Year, and I will see you all on the next video. Bye!